Greetings and welcome to the BlastCast. I'm Jarvis, and once again, it's just me tonight. Basically, 3.6 is now in Wave 1 PTU, so I thought I would go ahead and fly around a little bit, show off a few things, discuss a few things that are concerns or things that I feel that still need to be addressed. It's a little bit of a firefight going on right now. So anyway, I got the Connie here because I wanted to show off the fact that some things have changed on the Connie. Of course, the big thing we've been waiting for, those fans to actually work. Actually, they're not really fans anymore now. They're actually full-fledged thrusters. So good. I thought the fans were kind of hokey anyway. All right, so I'm going to get my ship. We're going to head down to Daymar and go from there. Now, one of the things that definitely is noticeable, it does take ships longer to power up. And I'm actually been sitting here still on the platform for a little over a minute now, because as you can see, the shields are not quite at the point yet where I feel like I'm secure enough taking off without surviving a potential impact of another player or something like that. So I'm just holding fast for now. Another thing I want to point out real quick before I make this jump. Now, on the left, you have the limiter, the same thing we've had in 3.5. But on the right, what you're looking at there is not the fuel. You're looking at the thruster power level. The fuel is at F in the lower left-hand corner. By holding the right Alt and rolling my mouse wheel, I can change the output on the thrusters. This should allow for smoother maneuvering for landing and such. Now, of course, in general, I still think that we need to have, well, something other than infinite jerk for rotations and accelerations. But this should help a lot for people trying to get more precision when coming into land and stuff like that. Also, you could basically just hover at a stationary level and then, power it down to start dipping down. Alright, enough of that. Let's get on our way. As a side note here, I'd like to mention that missiles are actually a lot more deadly in this build. So if you have a missile boat, they are a force to be reckoned with. Countermeasures are, coming along, but definitely be wary of missile boats. As you should be, frankly. Missiles are not supposed to be weak weapons. Let's find a nice landing spot somewhere down on the light side of the planet so I don't have to try to show everything in the dark. They still need to bring that limiter down to a reasonable level. Now, I don't know why I'm at VTOL already this high up, but since we're up here, take a look at those gorgeous thrusters that are finally open. As you can see, they're no longer fans. They're actually... looks like they have thrusters that can either push straight up or down. Yeah, I should not be in V2L this high up in orbit. And that's something I want to kind of bring up real quick as we kind of move along in the video here. One of the things that's kind of a concern, and I would agree with it largely, is that V2L like this is automated. The game has decided that now I'm in V2L mode based upon parameters of how fast I'm going and whatnot. Now, even Grand Theft Auto 5, when you're flying a Harrier, you fly it like a jet until you press the button to change it into VTOL. I would very much like to keep that in manual control. Because if you remember back in the day when landing gear would come down when you got close to the ground or pads automatically, it was a bit jarring. And I would really hope that a function like that would be left in the hands of the player. Because too much automation in a game, you really start to feel disjointed from flying your ship. Alright, let's head down to the planet and show you how it handles as I get closer. The frame of reference up here, it's just too far to do that. Now, before we get started in showing you how it feels for controls, one of the things I'd still like to mention here is that rotations and accelerations on those rotations are still way too high. My stick, I have it set to the least sensitive it can possibly go using the game settings, and it still feels like the slightest wiggle and the thing goes way, way further than it should. Unless they deal with the rotation still, well, I think that leads to what we saw this week when they talked about the AI, how they're basically teaching the AI to circle strafe. And while I can appreciate them trying to make the AI fly like players, thing is, though, is it feels like they basically thrown their hands in the air and said, well, we don't know what to do because we refuse to touch rotations. So instead of actually, creating a proper model that respects G-forces and things like that, we're just going to make the AI fly like the players do and hope it all pans out for the best. It feels really much kind of like just throwing their hands in the air and kind of giving up. And it's kind of been a real disappointment, I think, this week when I saw that. I just kind of sat there like, oh my gosh, guys. I mean, I can appreciate trying to match player tactics, but yeah, it would help if you developed flight a bit more. That's why I said that the AI is one of those things that they keep talking about developing the AI, but every time they make adjustments or changes, they got to go back and retool all of it. Honestly, at this point in time, because they still haven't managed to get the flight model down to where it needs to be, and yeah, I said it would take 6 to 9 months, and we're only like 3 months in, but I haven't seen a whole lot of improvement. The V2L is nice, but I'm talking about the general flight model in and of itself. I think they're going to hit the Squadron 42 area, they're going to realize it doesn't play very well, and there'll be a delay. That's if we go on current course right now. I think Chris Roberts will sit down and play it, and it'll be that WTF moment, and back to the old woodshed it goes. So, alright, so let's go ahead and get back into the cockpit here. Alright, so I'm completely stationary. I'm going to keep my hands off the throttle. Not going to touch it at all. Of course, if you pitch your nose forward, as you can see, I can start to accelerate, dip down, pull back. You would not believe how little I'm actually moving my stick to get this much movement. It's a very sensitive stick, but it's just like I'm literally. I could be doing this with the tip of my pinky. This is way too sensitive. I mean, the whole thing across the board, but oh well. All right, so forward and back, just like a helicopter. Those of you familiar with the mechanics of that, great. I'll go sideways. Oh, there we go. It's a roll, which once again is correct. Some people are not happy with this, but I think it feels very natural. I think this is a good job on this particular thing. This is one of the first times in atmosphere so far in Star Citizen that I felt a connection to it. Of course, as you can tell already, dealing with the whole gunnery issue, anyone using fixed in this particular kind of flight model will be significant. Well, they'll just be out of luck compared to point and click. There'll be no comparison, because this takes a lot more effort to get your guns on target using a system like this. But that's actually good for ground forces too, for anyone on the ground side of it. It's just not a matter of instantly being killed by having a cursor put over you. Now, turrets, of course, will still be an issue, but turrets should be, that's what they're there for. They're turret gunners, or dedicated gunners. So yeah, this feels pretty nice. Still too sensitive, but I said in the pitch and the roll and all that, because I'm literally just moving the tiniest movements. It's hard for me to move this much less. And yeah, you can actually, I'm going to strafe up just a little bit, give it some power. So you can actually balance off between strafe and pitch to a degree there to kind of get a nice level flight with speed forward. Let's go back to the external view. And as you push forward, oh, I love seeing those doors close. Now, some people are complaining that landing is too difficult in this mode. I don't feel that it is. I don't feel it's any more difficult than landing any other helicopter or Harrier in any other game. You do have to find a flat space to land, a level space to land. But then again, in the real world, if you're flying a helicopter, you're not going to park it on the side of a cliff. One of the reasons with the Daymar, it's a little bit easier. Now, obviously, the game right now doesn't have any way to determine the angle and stuff of the ground beneath you, which is of course is a legitimate issue. It does make it very difficult for people to land effectively, but right now the third-person camera is your best friend. Just doing this the traditional strafe down way. I'm going to go ahead and try it here in a moment with the thruster down, with the thruster power down way. There we go. Not too bad. Another reason I chose Daymar. Desert, flat, easy to work with. Alright, so let's go ahead and just go back up a bit. Not too much. Alright, so I've got my right alt down. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel back. Not sure if this will do from the outside, though. Outside view. Let's see if it settles in. Oh, yep. Too much. Too much English. I'm just powering out thrusters. Yeah, there we go. Just a little bit underneath the gravity level. I'm not even touching anything but Alt and the mouse. And there you go. It just settles down. You can ramp the thrusters down the rest of the way. Should lock you down pretty secure on that surface. Let's go back and take a look at the meter on the side. Yeah, I know the HUD colors here always make it hard to see, but as you can see, it's at 0, and I'm actually now fully deflecting my stick in every direction, my main control stick, not moving. I am using both sticks now, moving them in every direction, not moving at all. Now, the great thing about this is that for anyone who's been playing, you know that you put your ship down on the planet, and that basically it just, you know, starts wandering off. It starts flying away. Well, these puppies are at 0 now. It doesn't get any more. You're just secure. You're locked. You don't have to worry about it. Very cool. So this patch in general is more of a technical patch. I don't know why I still had the effects though of the dust being kicked up, because I'm not really running anything. Let me turn off my ship and see if that continues. Now that is a sexy sound. I love the power down and the power up. There we go. Great. Alright, so let's go ahead and head over to one of the new stations and take a look at that. But overall, VTOL mode, I'm very happy with it. It needs tweaking as much as anything does, but it needs to have no automation, or at least the option to disable the automation. And once again, the sensitivity on the controls in this game are through the roof. I have a $400 joystick, and it's very hard to even get this thing to feel like it's too sensitive. It really feels disconnected in pretty much everything you fly, and that's because they refuse to deal with the rotations, because as they said, they're not comfortable with it. But you know, when people talk about they've broken 9-10 sticks playing the game, maybe the people playing the game aren't comfortable with spending that kind of money on sticks. Alright, here we go. There's a quick thought about the VTOL. Now, some people are talking about how it doesn't make sense that, you know, obviously anything that can do over 1G of push could basically keep the ship in the air the same way as the mains. This is true. The question comes down to endurance. You see, if thrusters are treated like basically they work in bursts, with the exceptions of the ones that are on the belly of the ship, which are built a little bit differently. They're high endurance, but they also take more fuel to use, which also would promote pitch and roll, by the way. Then in that particular case, yes, you could do it for a few seconds. You couldn't maintain it. Now, as far as retros go, well, yes, absolutely. You could, technically speaking, once again, point nose down, but then it becomes a stability issue, where you would have just a couple thrusters pushing as opposed to several on the bottom or whatnot. It becomes kind of like balancing on the tip of a needle. And that would be interesting too if it took a very highly skilled operation in order to do that, because all the other thrusters, all they can do is do short bursts of adjustments, and not the current maintenance version that they are, where they can kind of keep going. But there's a lot of tweaks that still need to be made to the way that they handle thrusters. Because one of the big goals that Chris Roberts talked about was wanting pitch and roll flight on a lot of these ships. He wanted form and function to match. As we've seen in previous builds, this, of course, partially extends back into 3.5. And, of course, even before, but mostly this is where the big changes started coming in. Chris Roberts was very clear that he had a vision for how the flight was going to work, where form would match function. And it still seems that even though Chris Roberts has now come on multiple shows talking about what he wants and demonstrating it, that the flight team has been unwilling to meet these goals, or unable to, or inexperienced enough to actually pull it off. Now, this isn't a rip on anyone doing the physics program or anything like that. This comes down to the direction of how the values are being put into these ships and how they're applied. Same thing can happen with John Pritchett. So I very much think that it's one of those things that they're still very much in the mindset of not wanting to do something they're not comfortable with, which is actually make a flight game. See if I can see the station out there. Or maybe it's a ruined station. It's kind of dark. There's a ruined one I found out here before. The point is, though, is I think that, I've been waiting for them to get the VTOL in before we did anything like a flight panel discussion or anything like that. I kind of want to see the whole direction they're going with it. I still feel that they're not willing to cross that threshold. They're not willing to take the steps needed to have a pacing and a flight dynamic that matches the design aesthetic. It will have to happen one way or another. Because as more and more of these systems come online, the multi-crew, the need for turrets with that multi-crew. Right now, turrets, a lot of us fly these ships. We don't man anything with anybody because we know that turrets are pretty much pointless at the moment. But the pacing of doing repairs when you're in a ship, under fire, all that has to blend. Looks like we got some trouble up ahead. It's a nice alert sound, though. You see, my hope is that they resolve all this before we get to the point where it delays Squadron 42 any longer. Because Chris said that he wants Squadron 42 and the Persistent Universe to pretty much handle the same. Now that's going to be a real challenge because an MMO is an ever-changing environment. Ever updating, ever growing. Squadron 42 is a standalone single-player game. And dynamics made to the way things were to fly in the Persistent Universe. If it had to be put back into Squadron 42, that means part of Squadron 42 would have to be retooled. It's a vicious cycle. Unless they absolutely just want to separate those two out and make one independent of the other, but that goes against what he had originally said he wanted. So I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna work that. All right, let's go ahead and get closer here. Hopefully not get shot down. I do love these new stations. A lot less crowded. The insides, I think all that's going to be updated as it goes along, but this feels much better. Don't get me wrong, I loved the truck stops compared to Olisar. But this, I want to see Olisar turn into this. You have these long boom arms, which would be great for docking long ships, you know, these large capitals. And we just think we've just been scanned there. Look at that. Basic truck stop landing pads, but yeah, sending out scans. It also reminds me a little bit of Starship Troopers at Station World. The ships that were damaged were kind of like parked onto or crashed onto. And maybe also those blockade ships on Naboo. Look at that, all the large platforms. A lot less crowded, you know. As I said about Star Citizen, the art, the guys, the sound guys, they're amazing. You know, physics guys do a damn good job too. But flight team, not so much. But look at this. This is gorgeous. Look at that detail. There's just enough wear and tear, you know? I mean, you could see, like, being kind of a Star Wars fan, at least pre-Disney, imagine like the side of a Star Destroyer, all the details in the, you know, in the side ridge. Man, Disney would love to get their hands on this for a Star Wars game. I could tell you that. It's just beautiful. I still like the fact that large ships, they're like the only ones you can really feel mass on. The small ones just, they don't feel like they've gotten there. But the large ones like this, you can feel the drift. I got my hands up the stick here. I'm just sliding along. You know, you can feel it. Well, let's go ahead and head over to another one. I just wanted to let you guys like take a look at that for yourself. That is such a monstrous improvement. The truck stops themselves were a monstrous improvement over like Olisar. But this is leagues out of that. Alright, on to the next station. So I think I'm just going to show you one more station. I don't want to show them all to you. You should be able to go out there and take a look for yourself. I'd like to say briefly that I am glad that you don't jump directly or very close to your end destination. Now, this is for multiple reasons. One, traffic, clearly. But for those of you out there who are looking at playing pirates or whatever, you wouldn't want all the ships to jump like within a mile or two of defensive perimeter. That would make your job pretty impossible. Also, if you're smuggling something illegally, you wouldn't want to jump right into the middle of all their sensors either. You want to kind of look at that edge, maybe get some sensor readings, find out if it's safe to bring in your cargo. So yeah, I agree. This whole thing about jumping, like being literally 200 kilometers away or so, it's 100 to 150 to 200. I didn't exactly look precisely, but yeah, that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. Just for long-term gameplay benefits. As we approach what appears to be Port Olisar's little brother, still better than Port Olisar. I look at the lighting here, and yeah, space is dark. And that's why having those flashing lights on the base to see the edges is so important, but it's kind of beautiful and creepy and kind of really emphasizes the cold loneliness of space. You know, that 50 people on the server. As a side note, they'll grow once they get meshing in. Very interesting solar panels. They're getting really creative with them. Oh yeah, guys, it's time to redo Olisar. If you've got the whole spinny thing going on, please. Looks like this one only provides a couple of the large hangars. A couple is all you would need. Very cool. Alright, so just some final thoughts, a summary. The VTOL mode is a solid first start. If you're familiar with helicopters, Harriers, things like that, from more sim-oriented games, even Grand Theft Auto 5, you'll be fine. I feel that automation on the activation of VTOL is holding the player's hands a bit too much. If they go too slow to maintain flight, and they don't activate VTOL, then they should suffer the consequences. But being able to manually control that, I feel, is going to make it feel a lot more solid and not to be so jarring, the transition between the two. The new space stations are just freaking awesome. Absolutely just a graphical and technical, they're just, this part of the game is really coming along. Ships spooling up and down to start and not starting up with everything at full power as quickly is also appreciated. I didn't really like the fact that ships that are this complicated can just press one and done and pretty much just take right off and be ready to go. There's a lot of dramatic moments that can go away with just making it a one and done kind of instantaneous action thing. And the game, this isn't an instantaneous action game, though there's some real push by people to try to make it so. Flight still is going to need a lot of work. I feel that VTOL is much closer to an end product than flight itself is. And while the devs aren't going to acknowledge or even believe probably that interactive mode is going to be a problem when it comes to air to ground, they will. All it's going to take is for them to be on the receiving end of that during testing to realize, whoops. We'll see how that goes. But there isn't enough of the complete picture of the game right now to, I think, for them to understand that, to see that. So what I look forward to the most is seeing them refine all these principles and make them blend. Give the ships a bit more character, because it still feels like to some extent they're drifting back into being homogeneous to some degree. Just different rates, but for the most part, homogeneous. There always kind of seems to be this pushback to re-arcadeize the game, for lack of better words. There's always a one step forward 1.5 step back, sometimes even 3 steps back scenario. You just got to keep talking about it. That's all you can do. I'm not making as many videos right now because obviously the news is slowing down, but I've said everything I can say about this subject on flight. We've broken down every aspect of it. I had real world pilots on. I went out and learned DCS so I could get a better idea of all sorts of different flight dynamics of, how it interface with the cockpit, all of it. I played other space games to look at them, to see what they do. Basically, I went after it. I played flight games for years, different space sims, but I decided to grab some of the more modern ones, atmospheric and space, to see what they were doing. So you can imagine I'm a little burned out in the subject. I have spent probably thousands of dollars on things around Star Citizen just to try to help talk about the things that will make Star Citizen great. But it can be tiring to go against a very vocal and very wrong crowd that has the attention of the developers because they're popular. Being good at a bad flight game does not make you a good pilot. It just makes you good at a bad game. And I'm not impressed by it. I mean, being good at a bad game. I'm impressed by a lot of this technical stuff. This stuff's pretty awesome. And because of that reason, I've also been playing other games recently, not flight related, just to get away from it. I think when we see like the random mission generator, what incorporates air and ground, and we get like the tonk and other things in the game, we'll see these things be changed again. But looking at it, I don't see Squadron 42 happening. I know that the beta, they want to have it after Q1, and fine, beta, but I have a feeling that beta is going to be a beta for a while. Let's put it that way. I guess we'll see. As I said, it can be frustrating because I know a lot of you out there understand, and some of the people watching this channel, I know you hate my guts, and that's fine, whatever. It's the internet, you're allowed to hate me, you're allowed to like me or whatever. I'm doing this for the game. I'm doing this because I want Chris Roberts' last game to be his best game. Like me, hate me, I don't care. That's my goal. I wouldn't be like less than like 800 away from getting my own F8 Lightning if I didn't want to support this game. And those of you who understand what that means how much roughly I pledged. A ridiculous amount. I want the game to succeed. But I need to take a break from talking about it a little bit to clear my head, to have fun. Just chill out and play Divinity 2 with Lightning or Fallout 76 and go blow up some super mutants or, Elder Scrolls Online and do some dungeon raids. Because I need to unwind, basically. I know this is a bit on the personal side, so I do apologize. Maybe you're not here for that. You can just end the video. Not trying to force you to listen to me or ramble or something like that, but, I'm a human being. I have things I just speaking off the cuff here. But yeah, I guess that's really kind of all I wanted to say. We're not there yet. And it's because, in some regards, CIG's not comfortable making the choices that it has to make in some key areas of flight. Comfort has nothing to do with it. Design has everything to do with it. So, we'll see which one of those wins. I'm hopeful, but as they say, hope for the best, expect the worst. And I just want to take a moment to thank all the people who've been subscribed for all these years. I know some people get upset, negativity and stuff like that. It's not, the intent isn't to be negative. The intent is to be realistic. The intent is to say what needs to be said and not coddle you because you're better than that. It's also not to rip on the game. Because look at this. This station's gorgeous. I don't mean to bring you down. There's like 1,000 Star Citizen channels out there, at least channels that cover Star Citizen that either fall into one of two camps. They're either all pro Star Citizen all the time, no matter what. All awesome, all good, all the time. or they're all I hate Star Citizen and I hate everything around it kind of channels. I'm neither one of those. I try to be as just flat out, this is how it is. This is how I feel it is. Until, I learn something different or something else has been revealed or whatever. I'm working with what I can see and experience and what the devs say. But this is not the blow sunshine up your ass channel. Or blow shadows up your ass, I guess, if it's going dark. You're always welcome to join us on our Discord if you want to talk about your concerns. You're always welcome to post down in the comments. You're welcome to message me on the forum boards. Can't guarantee I'll get back to you right away. Like instantaneously. A lot of people at my job have been quit or replaced recently, and I am dealing with a lot of errors from people who don't know their job. Just the other day, I worked a 14 and a half hour shift. So, a little tired too, as you can imagine. So I think it's really everything I wanted to say. 3.6 is more of a technical patch, a refinement of the game systems and locations. It's a good patch. It is. I think we just need more game. We need more game systems for the pieces to start coming together and those final changes to happen because they have to. All right, everyone. Leave your comments down below, and I'm going to take my tired butt back to West Virginia and shoot some super mutants. We'll catch you in the next one.